What's going on, guys? So I decided to do this video in my car. You know, I could have went into a studio and did it, whatever. But look, I'm having a casual conversation with you guys to let you know that China is something that is not something to be intimidated by. It's a country that has done a lot of business with other countries, and it's safe. It's okay. And I'm going to talk about this. I'm going to talk about the beginning of how I went for 3 times over there and did business, and it changed my life. It changed my whole outlook on business. So that's what I'm going to speak on today. So I hope you don't mind me inviting you into my car and we're talking about it. So first of all, this is how China came in the picture. For those of you who know me, know I was in the music festival business. I would sell things through the music festival, and basically I would get goods from mostly New York and LA. And I always felt that the same people that were selling to me, which was South Koreans, not Chinese people, you'll find out what I'm going to say in a minute, were selling to me at a higher price. But then I would see some of these people come to the same music festival that they would sell things to and sell things for a lower price than us. And I felt like, how rude. But then I kind of slapped myself because I was like, we live in a capitalistic government. People have the right to do what they want. And if somebody has a better price than you, then you need to fight and find out a way to get the better price. So I said, I'm going to do something about this. So my buddy and I, who was also in a similar business, was like, nah, this is not the way to do it. We got to do something different. And the reason what I was talking about South Koreans are in the business, I would ask people like, oh, where you from? And I'll find this out later. They're from South Korea, just like Chinese restaurants. A lot of you guys may think that Chinese people actually own these restaurants. No, a lot of these people are Vietnamese, Cambodian, and they just open Chinese restaurants because they're a good business. And I learned this later after I learned cities in China. And I was like, oh, have you been to Shenzhen or Guangzhou? And they're like, Guangzhou. They're like, no. My great grandfather was from China, but it doesn't make a difference. But anyway, so we said, we got to do something about this. So I came up with the idea. I said, hey, what if we went to China? And automatically that just put fear in the both of us. Because I don't even know why I said it. And I've always been that way, to say, let's try something different. And my buddy's like, you know what? I have a guy at my job in the IT department who is from Hong Kong. And I think he said he's going back home in about 2 months. I'll ask him, that's what he's saying, if he could take us and show us the ropes. Now, keep in mind, this guy is IT. He doesn't know the ropes for business. He only came to America because he was working in IT. So he said, I'll give it a shot. Maybe a couple days later, he gives me a call and said, hey, Peter said he'll show us around. Get our tickets now. He'll go over probably first, and he want to spend some time with the family first, and he'll take a day out of his time and show us around. Now it's like the real deal, like, okay. So I tell my wife, hey, look, hey, I'm going to China. And she's looking at me like I have 4 heads, like, China? As if China should be said twice. I'm like, yeah, China. So what happens? The time comes. And I've been to Somalia at that time, with the military and stuff. They took me there. But this is my first real trip by myself out of the country like that. So I remember I bought my airline ticket from Cathay Pacific. Great airlines. First time I've been on a plane where they had movies. Well, they kind of had movies when we went to Somalia, but this plane was luxury. When you go overseas and you're flying internationally, it's a whole nother ball game, right? So I'm like, okay. And I'm going over there. Most of the people on the plane are Asian, a few Americans here and there. And it's like my nerves are going crazy. The only thing I'm focusing on is that when we get there, and he wasn't even meeting us at the airport. We had to catch the whole train system in Hong Kong, which is like light years ahead of the U.S. So we get on the train, we get to China, get on the train, go to our hotel area. We didn't even have a hotel booked, actually. We knew an area where we were going to stay, but the guy met us at the train station stop. We get off. That was by our hotel, and we get off, and we have our backpacks on, and I'm thinking at least it's about 70 pounds on my back, and it's hot that day. At least we can put the bags down. But no, he wants to get right into the tour. He only has a few hours. So I'm like, okay, here I am walking around Hong Kong with this bag on my back like this. And then he takes us to a trade show in Hong Kong. And it's at the convention center, and I'm looking at the trade show, seeing people in there buying. I'm like, okay, well, I've been to something similar like this in the U.S., the ASD show in Las Vegas. But these people, it's not as many people. And these people are the people that are actually buying things and basically selling them at the ASD show. So this is a different type of buyer. ASD show are buying things from their stores, retailers, and blah, blah, blah. This show, it's different. So I'm like, okay. And I'm talking to these guys, and they're like, we need to come to your office because I'm trying to figure China out. Like, oh, well, my office is in Shenzhen, which is outside of Hong Kong and communist China. Because, Hong Kong used to be British rule. So I'm like, Shenzhen. I'm like, how do I get over there? And they said, oh, you got to get a visa. And I'm like, oh, okay, visa. So I'm like, okay, my head is going crazy, whatever. So I go through the visa process. The guy, Peter, takes us there, and we talk. And it's a very simple process. You pay like $100 and some. It just depends on your country. If you're from America, it's a certain price. If you're from Sweden, it's another price. So I'm like, okay, I pay the money. And now I'm like, I got to get more information. So there's a lot of African guys in China, in Hong Kong. So I'm like, and a lot of Nigerians. So I see these guys and say, hey, look, let me ask you a question. Have you ever been over to Shenzhen? And they're like, oh, yes, I've been there. But I can tell you right now, the English is much better here in Hong Kong. If you go to Shenzhen, you're not going to find too many people that speak English walking around and about. So it's going to be a little different. So I'm like, okay. Not a lot of people in Shenzhen speak English. So now here's another thing. So I get my, I'm losing my train of thought here. Oh, I get, a couple of days later, we get our visa. You don't get it right away. The visa's ready for us. We're staying in like this cheap hotel until it's done. But one thing they told us, they said, look, keep your bags over here. It's probably more secure in Hong Kong than it is in China. And then plus people speak English or whatever. So rent a hotel, keep your bags in the hotel. And then when you get to Shenzhen, you'll get the train and look for people with cards that will invite you to the hotel. Because like I said, you won't see a lot of people meet a lot of people who are speaking English. So get on the train, go to Shenzhen. Shenzhen is probably about 2 hours, I think, from Hong Kong on the train. Train's cool, We get off, and we have to walk through this maybe 300 yards of this open space to get to where we're trying to go when you get off the train station. And there's like these Chinese people lined up, sitting down on this little concrete area. And when my buddy and I walked through there, now we were both African-American men, we had stares like we've never had before in our life. We had got people looked at us like they'd never seen us before. They're like, intimidating. So now I'm sitting in China and I'm going through that. And I'm like, I don't see these people they're talking about with this hotel. And finally I see some people waving and I'm like, hopefully that's them. And we get off and get closer to them and they're holding these things and they're saying hotel. And they show us and they're going to take us there. Get in the hotel, get settled in our rooms. That's going on. So the guys that we met there at the trade show, they say, take this card and give it to the taxi cab driver. Taxi cab driver, no English. We give him the card and he's like, says what he says in Cantonese. They speak that in the southern part of China. And we're pointing, and he's like, I said, okay, I guess that means he knows where he's going. So he takes off. We keep our hotel card on us. No one speaks English. I'm like, bro, this is intimidating. Like, wow. Nerves going crazy. So he stops at this building and he points. This is a huge building. There's probably 500 people standing outside. I think they were going to lunch or something. So I'm like, okay, we get out of the car. We're walking, and there's like 500 Chinese people like walking toward us, and we're like, the wording is in Chinese. I can't read Chinese. I'm like, okay. Then all of a sudden, out of that 500, it was one Indian guy. And then I looked at him, and he looked at me. He smiled. I smiled. I said, that's the guy I'm going to ask. And I showed him the card. I said, please, I hope you read Chinese. And he's looking at the card. He said, oh, yeah, this is the building. Go inside. And walked inside. There was some American guys in there. I'm like, wow, fine. It felt like a military mission just to get to you guys. And then they kind of told us what the deal was. They moved over to China, and they had a product they were producing. And basically they were there for Americans and Europeans who were afraid to buy from the Chinese. So all they would do is walk into that office, right? And the Chinese, the Americans and the Western would say, this is what I want. And they would literally walk down the street to the manufacturer and said, hey, this is what they want, and make money from that and then give it to them. They were the go-between. So I'm thinking to myself, I didn't come all the way to China to deal with another middleman. I want to talk to the manufacturer. So we got all the information we could out of him. And luckily for us, there was this trade show that was going on that is going to really, for those of you who want to really go in and see what's going on and see your product and see what's new, that's going to be good for you. And I'm going to talk about that in the next video on our experience at that trade show. See you at the next video.